before we begin, take a look at this slide. It looks nice, right? Clean, professional, clear. But here's the truth. I didn't make this alone. So today, I want to talk about honesty. Hi, I'm Jason Clarke, a teacher and a research lead at Chengdu Meisha International School. A lot of my work focuses on AI in education, not just whether we should use it, but how we can use it honestly. Most of the time, we judge work by the end result. If something looks polished, we assume the person behind it must know what they're doing. But with AI, that gets more complicated. These days, I made this can mean anything from I spent 10 hours on it to I clicked regenerate 7 times. And be honest, from the outside, can you always tell the difference? One of the first AI essays I ever saw from a student was a polished review of The Godfather Part 2. I asked him, why that film? And he couldn't answer. The work was visible, but the thinking was not. That is the challenge with perfection. When something looks perfect, we often stop asking questions. We don't ask how it was made. We don't ask what help was involved. And we don't ask what mistakes happened along the way. In normal life, that might be fine. If I order a sandwich, I don't need the chef to submit a reflection paragraph. I just want a sandwich. But education is different. In education, the work behind the answer matters, because that's where the learning happens. That is why AI in schools matters so much, because a perfect answer does not always tell us what happened. Maybe it shows real understanding, or maybe it just shows that the student knows how to ask AI for something that is polished. And those are not the same thing. In education, we are always encouraged to ask, is this good? But what we should be encouraged to ask is, what does this actually prove? Because if we can't answer that, then the perfect product is not enough. This became clear to me when Meisha sent a group of us to AI in Action, a conference about the future of K-12 education. And I'll confess, I was already using AI heavily at that point. I have always loved technology. Not because I think we need more screens in our lives. It's hard enough to concentrate already. I like technology when it helps me do something I couldn't do before. And AI felt like that. It helped me build things that would have been difficult or, honestly, impossible on my own. At the conference, one keynote gave a name to something that I had already been feeling. Alex McMillan talked about secret cyborgs, an idea from Dr. Ethan Mollick. A secret cyborg is someone who uses AI to improve their work, but keeps it hidden. Not always because they're cheating. Sometimes they hide it because there are no clear rules. Sometimes they hide it because they are worried people will judge them. Imagine, students worried about teachers, teachers worried about students. I mean, who here is worried about their boss or colleagues discovering their AI use? I have. Right, now I'd like you to look around you. So look to the right, look to the left, look behind you. Go on, do it now. Have a look. I hate to tell you this. Sorry. I hate to tell you this, but the cyborgs, they're already here, right? They're in this room. And since we're all cyborgs, we might as well be honest cyborgs, right? I'm proud to use AI, and I want to say it openly. So I would like everyone to say it with me. Let's try it. I use AI. I am a cyborg. Thank you so much. Because if AI use is pushed underground, right, we lose the chance to guide it, we lose the chance to teach it, and we lose the chance to make it honest. So our school needed to prepare for this new reality. There we go. A good AI policy does not just say yes or no. That would be too simple. Shouldn't a school be preparing students for the real world? AI is already a part of that world. But there's a difference between using AI to brainstorm and using AI to replace your thinking. There's a difference between asking for feedback and asking for an answer. And there is a difference between support and substitution. So our policy gives students clear guidance on what AI can help with, what they must do themselves, and how they should explain it. The goal is to not catch students out. The goal is to make honest use possible. However, guidance shouldn't just exist in a document. It has to be visible. It has to be clear enough for students and teachers to know exactly what to do next. So we created posters and student-facing materials. But students do not just learn honest AI use through rules. They learn it through practice. So, how do we move from policy on paper to honesty in the classroom? For me, one answer has been Flint. Flint is a platform that lets teachers build chatbots for specific learning tasks. Instead of students using AI secretly outside the task, we can bring AI into the task openly. We can shape the support. We can decide what the bot helps with, and we can make sure it supports the thinking instead of doing the thinking. Imagine a student asking, "Can you make my essay sound smarter?" A good classroom AI tool should not simply rewrite the work. It should push the student back into thinking. And that is the shift. AI is not hidden outside the task, quietly doing work for them. It is inside the task, helping students stay responsible for their own decisions. Secret cyborgs become honest cyborgs. Okay. For example, I built a writing assistant. Students bring their own work, and the bot helps them identify where the writing needs development. But the student still has to make decisions. They have to decide what advice to accept and what to ignore, and they have to revise the work themselves. That matters, because AI feedback is not the same as learning. Learning happens when the student thinks about the feedback, makes a choice, and can explain that choice. So AI is not there to produce the final answer. It is there to support the thinking around the answer. Go. And because this happens inside the task, we can see more of what happened. We can see what the student asked. We can see what the AI suggested. And we can see what the student changed. And furthermore, we can see whether the student can explain their choices. Now, when I read the final paragraph, I'm not just looking at a product. I'm looking at the process. And then we, at Meisha, can ask better questions. How did the AI help? What did the student still have to do? Where did the thinking happen? Which is a much better conversation than simply asking, did AI write this? Because the real issue is not whether AI is present The real issue is whether the learning is still visible and measurable. And this is not just about students. Teachers use AI too. One colleague used AI to create a visual guide for a difficult math concept, and then made a short podcast explaining it in more detail. Without AI, those resources probably wouldn't exist. And that's not because teachers don't care. Teachers care a lot. But there are only so many hours in the day. Most of us barely have enough time to drink the coffee we made 3 hours ago. With AI, creating these kind of resources becomes possible. And again, the key is honesty. Not pretending that the teacher did everything alone. Not pretending that the tool doesn't exist, but being clear about how the tool helped and why it helps students. Because if we expect students to be honest about AI, teachers have to model that honesty too. So let's go back to the first slide. Its perfection was never a problem. The problem would be pretending that I made it alone. That is the real issue with AI in education. It's not the tool. It's not the product. But it's whether the student's decision-making is still visible. We don't need secret cyborgs. We need honest cyborgs. People who use powerful tools but explain how they use them. People who can say, yes, AI helped me, and here's what I did. Here's what it did, and here's what I learned. That kind of honesty does not weaken learning. It protects it. In education, honesty does not mean pretending AI isn't there. Honesty means being clear about the tools, effort, support, and responsibility. It means showing enough of the work that the learning can still be seen. Because learning has never been about the final product. It has always been about what happens on the way there. So yeah, that first slide looked polished, but now you know the truth. It was me, AI, a few bad versions, and the quiet panic of a looming deadline. And honestly, that's not a problem. The problem would be hiding it. Thank you.